Morning again, everybody. I'd like to bring the CED committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Steingart.
Here.
Mrs. Labuda.
Here.
Mrs. Geiger. Here. Mr. Benson.
Here.
Ms. Vedder.
Okay. We have a presentation we'll start with. Delaware Highlands Conservancy, the Eagle Project.
Hey, that's us. Should we go down here? Or just
Wherever you're more comfortable.
Couple seats right here if you want.
You can come to, you can
If
sit
you
down.
want to sit at the big kids table.
No, we like to stand actually.
Stand, that's good.
So yeah. So we'll lighten the mood a little bit this morning for you. And
It's always welcome.
for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lori McKean. I've been here before. I've been doing the Eagle Project in Sullivan County for about 15 years now. No relation to Amber. We have gifts, goodies to take home. Yes,
Oh, great.
take them.
I'd like to.
Oh, can I have one?
Thank you.
Not enough for everybody.
Amber, you first.
Not enough for
You're gonna sit
everybody.
in front of them.
And I gotta shoot him.
Yeah, but it's a zero tolerance now.
It's got my haircut.
So I know we have about, there are multiple use. So we have,
Of course I want one.
and this is my colleague Kate Mitchell, and I know we have about 10 minutes of your time. You probably have a really busy agenda this morning. So we'll talk fast and fill you in
Sorry.
on what we've been up to. I was here last year to talk to you about the merger with the Eagle Institute with the Delaware Highlands Conservancy, so I just want to give you an update on how that's going. First, I want to thank you, of course, for your continued support from day one all the way till, into the future, hopefully. And this support has really helped grow our programs and give us some visibility in the county, and also helped us leverage, additional fundraising, and helped us grow to what we are today. The merger, again, we're entering into our second winter season. It's been seamless, it's been brilliant, it's bigger and better than we could have imagined it would have been. I really thought it would take like 3 to 5 years to kind of morph everything together. But because it's such a good match and such a natural fit, it's really taken off and has really been able to help us expand our resources, leverage our resources, expand our capacity, and really start to begin to make that connection between the unique resource that Sullivan County has in the bald eagle and in the environmental stewardship of your residents and your visitors, which, before it was kind of out there, but now merged with this larger organization, it's really starting to come together, and people are just getting it, and it's just wonderful to watch that light bulb go off. So in Sullivan County, just to touch base on a couple things, obviously the most visible is the opening of the Bethel office, which opened 2 years ago? 2 years now. 2 years ago. If you haven't been there yet, definitely go by and pop in. It's a great location, and it really increases our visibility in Sullivan County, and we've launched a number of great initiatives and great public programs right from that location. We've also been able, the infrastructure of the Delaware Highlands Conservancy with the Eagle Institute, we've been able to recruit some great bodies and minds from Sullivan County to the board, and one I'm thinking of off the top of my head is Nicole Sullivan from Cornell Cooperative Extension, and so she's chairing actually the Eagle Committee for the Delaware Highlands Conservancy, and it's just, again, a natural fit, beautiful relationship, and in fact this winter we're offering Eagle programs through Cooperative Extension for the youth in Sullivan County, so it's a perfect fit and something that we wouldn't have been able to do really too easily without this merger. One of the initiatives of the Delaware Highlands Conservancy is this Green Lodging Partnership, where they work with hotels both in Pennsylvania and Sullivan County, and Delaware County also, I think, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a partnership where folks that stay there voluntarily actually give a percentage of their reservation money to help support conserving land in Sullivan County, because a lot of people that stay in those places are coming to enjoy the natural resources. And it's a very willing and successful thing, and what we've been able to do this year is use some of that to offer guided eagle trips to the people who are coming to stay in those lodging facilities. So it's, again, a way to just grow the relationship and grow the partnership. On the ground, some of the things we're doing in Sullivan County this year is, over at the Monga Reservoir and the Rio Reservoir, two of the most popular viewing locations in the county. We're working with the DEC to get a local contractor to maintain and plow that area a little bit better than we've been doing in the years past. So safety is a big issue for us, and we're gonna really be able to improve safety and access at those locations. And has anybody ever seen the blind that the DEC built on Plank Road?
Yeah, just so you're aware, I sit on the Fish and Wildlife Board for this region and also on the state board. It's been discussed at our meetings. I have another meeting coming up on, I believe it's the 18th, down in Gardner. I will
Okay.
bring it up again.
Great, great. The blind that's on Plank Road, if you haven't seen it, it's because it's hidden in the woods in a really bad location. You can't really see eagles from there, you can't really get to there. Our volunteers don't like staffing it because it's kind of isolated. So we're talking. There was pipeline money, I think, and that's where they offered to put it, and so that's where they put it. It's a beautiful blind. So we are talking to them about maybe moving it, and we'd like to work with the utility company to maybe move it into that quarry area on Plank Road, which is much more visible, and that's where people stop to see the eagles anyway, because that's where the eagles are.
And
So
isn't there a mobile blind?
there is a mobile blind in Menacing Ford on the Delaware River, and the reason why it's mobile is because we didn't want to invest in building it and then have the river flood and have it washed away down into New Jersey, which has happened to a lot of our interpretive exhibits.
So
that
you
have
could do that
turned
one,
up.
that same sort of mobile unit on the Plank Road?
It'd be nice if we could set it on a trailer so that if there's a need to move it, we could. That's definitely an option. That blind is a little bit bigger than the one on 97, so it might not be possible, but we don't have the same flooding issue on Plank Road that we have on 97 as well. Eagle Fest, been a couple of years since there's been an Eagle Fest in Narrowsburg, and we know there's tremendous interest from the Narrowsburg community, the Chamber of Commerce, so the economic revenue from an event like that has been wonderful for them. So we have been talking with the Chamber, and this year we are going to offer something in Narrowsburg in the Tustin Theater and offer a guided trip, and the Chamber of Commerce is looking at ways to really capture an audience in the middle of January that they don't usually have thousands of people in Narrowsburg. So that's great news, we've also been able to recruit about a dozen more volunteers this year because of the success of the program. So one of the things we're going to try this year is another viewing location. We had a couple to pick from, and we decided 10 Mile River in Sullivan County, which is a great, there's eagle activity there. There's a need to educate people who go there already to watch eagles, so we're gonna staff it with volunteers on the weekends and see how that goes. And just another opportunity to bring people to Sullivan County and have them drive up and down that beautiful corridor, going from one location to the next. And then the last thing I just wanted to add was about now that we have an infrastructure and can be year-round, we are dipping our toe into expanding the Eagle Watch program into a nest watch and monitoring program, because Sullivan County has so many nesting and year-round eagles now and there's tremendous interest, so we're modeling it after the Bashakill program that we helped develop that's wildly popular. And we're gonna try to look for some nests in Sullivan County that we can bring people to where they can safely watch eagles and learn about habitat and learn about the eagles, and hopefully spur that into some economic development as well. So with that, I just want to, again, introduce Kate Mitchell, who's the new development and outreach person for the Delaware Highlands Conservancy, and the Eagles is one of her favorite programs.
Yes, it is, actually. One, thank you for having us, and thank you for supporting the program. It's great to work with Lori. One of the best things that we have, one of the best resources we have is volunteers. There's at least 50 people through the EO program who volunteer with us, and Lori is a volunteer, and she has done this for years in her free time. So as a staff person, I'm sort of humbled to work with her and do what she's doing. But my specialty is development and fundraising. And when I came to the Conservancy 6 months ago, we looked at the EGLE program, and it was like, this is great. So just 2 weeks ago, ONR told us that they're going to give us some money. And also a couple weeks ago, the American Eagle Foundation responded to a grant that I submitted earlier in the year, and they're also going to support us. So we have 2 great grants coming in to help this program. And what I really want to do is more outreach and economic development. So I'm talking to Patagonia, which is the clothing outfitter people on the Upper West Side and in Soho, about getting tour groups from there to come out here, and also for them to do some funding for the program. So that's something that will happen over the next couple of months, and that'll sort of unfold, and I'll submit a proposal to them in February. So that really helps with the growth, and linking that in with the Green Lodging Partnership and getting more people up here is really what we want to do. I don't know if you all saw the video. We have a video that's mentioned in our newsletter. It's on our website. It's about a 12-minute video on the reintroduction of the eagle to the area, and that's really, really beautiful, and we're going to be submitting that to some film festivals. But it's a great video on the history of this region, and that will also bring some people in. And it has had over 15,000 views already on Facebook. So that's a great promotional piece right there. The final thing is, one thing that I think can really, really help is we have a significant sum of money to protect eagle habitat, and it has to be spent in Sullivan County. So over the next year, we're also going to be targeting, figuring out what that habitat is going to be, what the criteria are. There are a number of landowners who have eagle activity on their land, who want to do easements on their property and protect their land. And so my goal is to basically increase the money we have to do that in order to protect even more eagle land. So your guys' support is great in keeping this whole project going and making it even bigger and better. So thank you, and thank you for listening to us.
A quick question for you. Have you been in contact with the town of Fallsburg and the town of Neversink regarding the Neversink River and the reservoirs?
We're, in what context? Yes.
When I go to work every morning at the wastewater plant in Fallsburg, I watch the eagles fly up and down the river corridor.
Yes.
I watch them take trout out of the river.
Yeah,
It's
isn't
great.
it amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an eagle, I'm on the Delaware, and I have an eagle right out my window
So,
too.
but it's just, it's a thought. I mean, I know we concentrate pretty much on the Delaware River, but I'd like to concentrate on the other end of the county as well, if possible.
That makes sense. That makes sense to do as we bring people out. And do you have anything?
We could do something, we've actually talked a couple times about the possibility of, having a viewing location there either in the winter months for the winter viewing, or, to maybe possibly include that nest in the Nest Watch program.
Because there's actually a DEC fishing area
Right,
just this side of the plant,
right.
and you can see them from there.
I know, it's very unsexy to do your
I
eagle
underst-
watching at a wastewater
I
plant, but
understand.
because of the wastewater plant, that's why the eagles are there, and that's part of the education. So, it could work, definitely work. So I would love to be able to recruit some volunteers from the Fallsburg community that might want to help us out with something up there.
I will mention something at the next Fallsburg board meeting.
Great, that would be great.
Kitty, then Cora?
Do you have a camera that, I know sometimes you can watch
A webcam?
on your
Mhm.
webcam on what's going on in the eagle's nest? Do
Tell
you
you-
have such a program?
We don't
Is it at a
now.
website, or are you gonna create such a program?
That's a great question. We get requests for that all the time, and I'll tell you the reason why we haven't done it thus far is, first of all, you can go online and type in Eagle Cam, and you can see a gazillion places where people have Eagle Cams. The Chesapeake Bay has some really active ones, and what happens in a nest on the Chesapeake Bay is the same thing that's happening in a nest in Sullivan County, so it doesn't look very different. But you're right, it does build stewardship, and there is a groundswell of support when it's our nest. It's very expensive to do. We don't have somebody to climb up in the tree to install it, and then usually when those cameras get installed, the eagles leave the nest, and then, so there's no guarantee that they'll stay.
You know the feeling.
So, exactly, so, It's very expensive.
You have to interview and find out which ones are on camera shot.
Right. It's a very expensive investment, but definitely something that we would consider doing, especially if there was funding and there was a willing landowner or let's say utility company that could help us with that and put a nest cam on one of their nests on their property, if they would maintain it and monitor it, and we could link it right to the Delaware Highlands website. It would increase traffic to our website, and it would be great for, you know, the county at large. So I would love to pursue that if there was funding and a willingness to do it, but it's not something that we're physically capable of doing. Great idea, though.
Cora?
Also, when you were talking about, reaching out to Patagonia, have you reached out to Lisa Lyons from Morgan Outdoors? She has an outdoor shop in, the Manor, and she's gotten groups from the city to come up for the maple sugar tours in March and stuff like that. So she has a ready list
Okay.
of people, and she organizes buses, and it's quite a, she's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
And
great.
then the other thing is, with regards to your development and fundraising, have you reached out to the National Park Service yet?
We work with them regularly, actually, they give us our field office, and we're gonna be there year-round now.
Oh,
We just
good.
finished painting, and we have a bunch of photos hanging up there, that's right
On
over
Main
the
Street?
Roebling, it's right in Waxon.
Oh.
It's right by the Roebling Bridge, at the
Okay.
far end of the Roebling Bridge. Come check it out, it looks really good, we just did a lot of work there.
And then the third point was, I don't know if you recall, when you were starting the merger, we had said it would be really great to get some sort of report on lessons learned and how other, nonprofits could learn from this type
Merge
of
with Lori,
transition.
that's the lesson.
The
Well,
lesson is,
expand on
no,
that just a little bit more.
great idea.
But it would be really good for us because, it would be something, I mean, I don't think we've had a not-for-profit summit since Jonathan instituted the first
Mhm.
one, but it really was the talk of the county at the time.
Right.
You
I
know,
love
what do
that
we do when
idea.
we merge?
You know, the merger actually has won a couple of awards from nonprofit organizations, so we could say now it is the award-winning merger, and it really is the way of the future for the survival of nonprofit organizations. And we have advised other organizations on a small level, but I would love to be able to, really help other organizations see, you know, what are the pitfalls, what are the, you know.
Even if it's just a one-page checklist, like, have you thought of this, and this?
I love that idea.
And give people a sense that, you know, it won't always go as smoothly as yours necessarily, but at least you've done the heavy lifting, and others
Right.
benefit from that.
Right, and I offer our services to come and talk to any organization that you
Oh,
think,
really?
if you work with a nonprofit organization that is struggling and you think maybe a merger with another organization might help them,
We have a whole list.
I would be happy to come and talk with them.
And I would too, I worked in the past in Poughkeepsie, and so when the Hudson Valley Philharmonic and the Bardavon Theater merged together, I was involved in that merger back in the late nineties. So, and I've done a couple other mergers, nonprofit mergers.
That's great.
The key is
It's a
to
real-
check your ego at the door, basically. A lot of
Yeah.
people told me, oh, Lori, you're gonna hate doing this, you're gonna not be able to give up, you're gonna hate the new organization, it's not gonna be the same. And I'm like, I don't want it to be the same. That's the reason why I'm doing this. You know, I know we need to take it to another level, and this was the best way to do it.
Well, I
so.
know you guys are a tremendous asset to the county, to the
Thank you.
region, to the country, internationally, and
Yeah,
we're
it's
really
been fun.
proud to have you.
It has been fun. In my free time, as Kate calls it. I do work full-time, somewhere else.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, exactly. And, yeah.
Laura, you mentioned the Eagle Fest that you're reinstituting it in the Tustin Theater. You didn't give a date. Do you have dates or?
There's 2 weekends in February that we're looking at right now. The
You
first
just haven't
one's,
selected.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
right.
it's either like the first weekend or the third weekend.
In which month?
In February.
February, right. And the idea is that we're not gonna call it Eagle Fest because it's not going to be the same as what's been done in our community in the past. There's no way that we could start from the ground up and build to what that community built over the years. But this is at least a start, and it's an opportunity, you know, without having the school and without having the infrastructure in Narrowsburg, this is a start, and so we're bringing the Live Raptor program, and we're bringing the guided trip and the educational component, and let's see what the chamber comes up with to really capture having people in their community on that weekend, so.
Which chamber?
It's in Narrowsburg
Oh,
or
not the
Tustin.
Sullivan County Chamber.
Well, if they wanna work with them as well, that's, you know, what we're doing is going into communities and saying, we can bring you the education, we can bring you the live eagles, we can bring you the people. It's up to you what you do with it, cause every community really has their own personality and their own resources, so.
It's a nice way to put it.
What's that?
Livingston
Yes,
kinda did
have it here
something like
today?
that back to school.
Kennedy,
Yeah.
Bird of Prey Day, and I have the guy's number.
Great,
Yeah.
great. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for your support, and, you know, even though Kate's doing a great job getting us other money, we couldn't really do it without this seed money from Sullivan County. We've been able to really leverage what you've donated and invested over the years, and it's a small amount, but it really helps us grow and, have a presence. And just one thing, the money that we have for habitat protection, we actually can spend it anywhere in New York State. And that's the criteria, and we're making sure that it's gonna be spent in Sullivan County. So,
Great,
okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Follow up with us if you have any questions, we're happy to.
Thank
Come
you.
with the goodies.
Thank you.
No, that's all I need. I got the
I
other
want one that,
Thank you.
I want one that makes
I got this in the
noise.
mail, but I'll take it
Can you
on.
give me one, did yours make noise? Give me one with the chain. Throw me down with the chain. Throw me down one. Mine will
Do they fly? Before we go to the next discussion item, I'd like to make a comment. It's 2 years that I've been fortunate that I'm the chairman, and obviously after the vote last month with Proposition 1, there's a couple things. I've seen economic growth in Sullivan County in the last few months that I haven't seen in a long, long time. Being a businessman that struggled, and that's why I got involved in politics, it's just very exciting time to be here. That being said, I also want to talk about our agencies. I think we're fortunate that we have great people in each one of these agencies that are poised, they're working together, which was clear in their efforts with Proposition 1. It's clear in the meetings that I have with developers, how we come together and work, and people don't realize we have great people here, and they have the foresight to do the planning on what's going to be coming. I have confidence in them, and I'm excited to be part of it. So, being December and holiday times, I want to say thank you. And you'll see it, for example, also with the college. People are working together. We know we have to bring our workforce up to a new level with the jobs that are going to be created, and everybody's working together, and it's clear as could be from the position I'm in, and I want to say thank you, and I'm excited about the times we're about to go into. And it's not just casino related. You know, last week there was a big closing on a resort that was decades in a family, has nothing to do with casinos. It's going to be building from the ground up. They have a lot of ideas connecting not just to resort business, and it just, you know, we're in the right for a change. The same things that brought the resort industry down, I believe is going to bring business back, and healthcare is going to be a large part of it. I think agriculture and what's happening with the food hub, all the things that the 9 of us ran on seems to be clicking on all 8 cylinders. So thank you to the agencies before we start, and I think Sullivan County is really in a great position. So that being said, small business. Cindy actually asked me to, I'm going to let her start, asked me to put this on the agenda. It's something she's certainly been touting since she's in office. And Cindy, go ahead, why don't you start?
I just want to thank Ira
Yeah.
for, including this as an agenda item. And I've been advocating for initiatives in small business for a long time. And I don't want to downplay any of the efforts because like Ira says, we have good people, we have progress being made. But back in October, I had put together a packet, got so busy that I didn't get a chance to discuss it. But what I did was, and I'll just read you this, please find for review my efforts as Sullivan County Legislator to convey the message from my constituents that current efforts at small business development need to be revisited and renewed. I understand efforts in economic development have been largely centered in the recruitment of the big job creators. Much time and resource have been expended to that end. While I believe that this is worthwhile, my constituents are calling for equitable efforts to recruit small job creators. We must recognize the impacts of small business and think outside the box to spur jobs, keep our rural communities viable, and in the attached information, which I made 15 copies, so I hope all my colleagues will take one, and I have a few more. Yeah, you can hand them out. And one for Roberta, and
One for Annie.
Jennifer.
Gotta make sure Annie gets them.
Jennifer Berlinski, and
I'm gonna pass them down and you can.
partnership for Mark. Okay. If you look at the attached information, there's real case studies toward the back and successful strategies that spur economic development in various municipalities. It's actually a PDF that came out of North Carolina, and if you Google on that site, there's 65 case studies to small towns that thought outside the box, tweaked their vision for their municipality, and their towns successfully revitalized themselves. And the one in there is a town that reminded me very much of some of the towns on my end of the county. It's called Nelsonville, North Carolina. And what they did was they were able to get a lot of infrastructure money, grant money. The storefronts were beautiful, street lights and benches, but the stores were empty. The businesses were absent. So what they did was the economic development entities got together. They convened a meeting with the business owners. There were several famous artists in that area. They brought the artists in, had the artists outreach into their artist community, and they were able to recruit artists while requesting that the store owners subsidize for a certain period of time so that these businesses could get off the ground, and it turned into a thriving artist community. I also included the New York State Comptroller report, and if you read that from our State Comptroller's office, it's really telling. And if you look at the statistics, 87.8% of all business in New York State is business under 20 employees, which defines much business in Sullivan County, while 0.1% of all business is large business over 1,500 employees. So I would like to see that we address economic development efforts with a new approach, identify concrete initiatives from municipalities, leading the way to embrace small business. Some small businesses have been here all along, contributing to our communities, paying taxes with little or no government assistance and driving our rural economy. And I'm urging us to focus on policies that encourage small business to expand, create jobs, fill our empty storefronts, and I will continue to push for proactive works in this area, as many of our constituents represent the small business sector. I also included on the very back a resolution for discussion. It can be tweaked, and basically what it is to recognize the efforts to recruit big job creators, but direct equitable efforts towards small business endeavors, a renewed marketing of our rich local history, parks, museums, scenic byway. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Sullivan County Legislature directs the county economic development agencies to set forth goals for 2014 with a summary of priority initiatives to be presented to the legislature to achieve an increase in small business development with an aggressive marketing campaign.
Here, here.
And I also want to just include, a constituent of mine, Mike Mullally, is the manufacturing instructor at the Sullivan County BOCES. And he sent over this letter and wanted me to just read part of it about manufacturing. Manufacturing is a key economic engine in the United States. Sullivan County and Sullivan County BOCES play an important role in keeping the local economy strong and in providing valuable careers for the people in Sullivan County. The strategic location of Sullivan County, its excellent access to transportation, its proximity to both Albany and New York City, as well as northern New Jersey, gives Sullivan County access to many opportunities and potential manufacturing customers already in the metropolitan area that are looking for a location that is both a great place to live with access to the convenience of major cities relatively close by. The ability to effectively use the latest manufacturing technology is critical to a successful enterprise and an important part of bringing valuable manufacturing activity to the county. So that's my part, and if you look at my packet, I included my Sullivan County roadmap, which I did last year. That's now on the website, where anybody that's interested in starting a small business can click on their own zoning and figure out if, you know, the zoning is gonna fit with what they're proposing to do with their business. There's 11 steps, the resources are listed on there. Then, like I said, I have the small business report, which I'd really like you to look at. And then small town big ideas, the PDF case studies and small community economic development. You can click on and pick out 65 case studies. I just included Nelsonville, Ohio. Okay, and then the resolution on the back, which I would like to discuss and possibly for December, you know, pass that in committee. I just wanted to say that Dr. Hilderson has come today because she and I spoke and we share the same vision for small towns. There's several small business owners here. Van Morrow is from my district. He's run successful businesses here and has some ideas for new ventures. Maurice Gallant, Cyber Shack and Liberty, also very active. And the Conways represent the western end of the county, the museums, the historic heritage that we have. So with my advocacy, once again, for small business initiative, I feel with the resolution, and I think Ira can vouch for me, the discussion that we had a conference call with the state office, they recommended directing with a resolution. So that was the outcome of that call.
I think this is great, Cindy. It's a
Yeah,
lot
so
of
I
work.
just wanted to give, you know, our guests a few minutes.
Sure.
To give their vision.
Well, before you do that, can I just ask a question?
Oh, go ahead, Cora.
Thank you.
I'm not chair.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm raising my hand.
Ask away.
Yeah.
Ask away.
Maurice, didn't you get a loan from the county?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's something we really want to make sure is highlighted and read through that, because it's missing.
Yes.
It says small business loans, contact your local bank or the IDA, so the county should also be included in that.
Well, actually, this is actually a perfect time, because there's economic development in Sullivan County. We have a lot of tools, whether it's the IDA, the Visitors Association, planning. The umbrella for economic development is the partnership. That, when economic development starts, and I think Mark is gonna say a few things about the small business, even before his report, if you're ready, you tell me. But whether it's existing business or bringing business into Sullivan County, it really should start at the partnership. We need to be consistent to direct people to one organization, and then the tools come in, whether it's working with the college to train, workforce development to
they're
get
on there.
employees. So I think it's very important, especially, you know, obviously most of the people in the room are the agencies themselves, but the press to understand how things need to flow, that it needs to go through a conduit, and the umbrella is the partnership. They take care of small businesses, they take care of large businesses, they put together the tools that will help businesses be successful. They do business plans, but the bottom line is, just because some businesses may fail, 80% of startup businesses don't make it, and people understand. That doesn't mean they're not getting the best help and getting the best chances. It's just unfortunately part of business makeup.
Well, can I
But-
ask a question? Maybe you guys can help me out. Suppose we wanted to follow one of these case studies and we wanted to convene a meeting with our zoning people or our code enforcement officers to try to streamline, I mean, because I've gotten calls as a legislator, bordering towns, 2 different zoning, they're doing what this municipality is doing over here, then they get cited, you're in violation, you know, your assessment's gonna go up. Who would be the entity that could convene a meeting such as that with your towns to say, okay, we're gonna try to streamline some of this? Where would
Well,
that come from? Does somebody-
First of all, that's been done. We have to be very careful. You're going
That's why I'm
into.
asking, who would do that?
You, well, first of all, we can try to coordinate and try, but the bottom line is, you're going to areas that are municipal rights that the county don't have, you know, we don't have the right to tell municipalities what zoning they can have. What we've tried, and the partnership has done it, and also the idea is, we want to be business friendly. We want to bring, for example, planning boards together, have a workflow that it's going to be consistent, but we certainly don't have a right to go into a municipality and say, listen, you should change this zoning. We
No,
can,
not that
we can talk
approach.
about it,
I'm not
but,
looking for that.
well, when you say the zoning on one lot and then the next is different, we don't have the right to go
Well, I'm
into
trying to figure
a municipality
out
and
who could
change that.
streamline
She's
some of
basically
these,
saying
or is it-
that all of the different townships or their zoning departments or their code enforcement departments should be asked, not told, they should be asked to come together to a general meeting, and maybe they could codify certain things to make it easier countywide, because you have
Is
15
that a
different
possibility?
departments.
Well, I think one second, for public comment later. I believe that it already has been done with the planning boards, that Alan Scott,
We used to have a countywide planning board, years ago, a countywide planning commission or board used to, I think Jennifer, you know more about this than I do, they would meet, on a consistent basis and discuss these issues countywide, and there would be a representative from each of the town planning boards, and they'd get together. And so
That
that
was
may be.
actually before each town had its own
That's right.
Right.
planning and zoning, so that became just an added layer which wasn't necessary.
I mean, that you could do that, you could replicate it so that they get together and at least discuss these issues, it's not something that.
I mean, if we open communication, I know Jill works hard, she communicates with the town, so it could come through the planning department,
Well,
or
it's been identified as a strategy in the draft economic development plan to, you know, streamline development and kind of help that process, you know, for planning boards and zoning boards, so that when a business comes in, that it's a little bit easier for them to get through the system. So we're still working on, you know, the implementation plan of that strategy, but that's something that we would identify who would take the lead on that, whether, you know, through the planning department doing, you know, training for the planning boards, or whether it's working with the supervisors
Well, I'm
on
feeling that
Well,
may.
how
well,
it would be implemented,
I
but
think I
that's
can help
something that I think.
explain one thing first, you know. I believe it would have to go through the supervisors. First of all, it's a misunderstanding of what planning boards do. Planning boards do not write the zoning, they just implement the law. So if you want to make changes to the zoning on a municipality, you need to go through the supervisors or the town board, because they're the ones that change it. Not the planning board, they can't change
So who would
zoning.
take the lead to
So
open
the
communication?
the board of supervisors meeting that they have would be the right meeting place to bring up the issues, to try
Who would
to.
bring it up? Would Jill
Well,
as planner, or
I'll take the
Mark
lead
as
with
partnership?
Jill and Mark.
Right.
I'll make sure that's addressed.
Okay,
But
so
realize,
that's
all it could be
deliverable.
is suggestions.
No,
People, it's very zoning, as
I'm
everybody
just-
knows, is a very sensitive issue.
I'm not saying it has to be zoning, I'm using that as an example of maybe a think outside the box initiative that's a concrete act that we can take, and I'm not sure who it would come from. So if Mark and Jill get together on that, then we got that answer.
Kitty?
I would think that a piece of it, I'm not really sure how this works, but a piece of it would be, I think all towns have a commercial zoned area versus a residential zoned area. And maybe having the Board of Supervisors determine what makes it a commercial zone, that they at least in that piece have the similar guidelines, might be helpful. I think every town has a commercial and a separate residential section.
Some towns may not even, I think we need to move on because we can discuss this forever. And we have to go to our agencies and there's another meeting in 15 minutes.
Okay,
I think it's a good
Citizen
suggestion.
to just say a few words
What?
here. Is that okay?
That's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
And I'll try to be as brief as I
Okay.
can, but one of the, I think the fun elements of the conversation that I had with Cindy was just that we really do align well on the concept of entrepreneurship and having resources and support and infrastructure to help startups and small businesses. The college is working on a couple of things. One thing that we've been talking about is trying to develop a living entrepreneur lab that is housed at a storefront starting in Hurleyville, and also then, if that works well, replicating that to have at least one in Monticello and one in Liberty and going from there. And part of that is getting those empty window spaces, having something nice in it. And I've had some discussions with Pat and with John and at the Center for Discovery on how we could partner. And I've had a discussion with Mark, because one of the things that I think makes it really fun is if there's a contest where winning proposals could actually have win a zero interest based loan in order to actually start a business, and that would be based on a small business plan and a presentation that they can get out there, and some banks might be interested in participating too, so that they can, you know, the cream rises to the top, right? You know, so, and Mark graciously agreed to be part of that effort and also to just assist the faculty. Because what it would mean is we would take a current faculty position and reconstruct it so that they're spending part of their time at this store with these students. And the harder the business, the better. If it's a business that's set up to fail, how can you learn to mitigate your risk, and how can you learn to become profitable? What is, and it's better to do that in a business that's partially subsidized, right, than a business that's completely not subsidized. So that's one of the ideas that the college is working on.
That's excellent.
We're also getting ready to submit our 2020 grant, and thank you for those of you in this room, especially Scott, who really assisted with showing support for the project. We're feeling pretty good about our proposal. We've got a couple of days, but a major component to it is entrepreneurialism and Startup New York. So those are the two things that are really emphasized. And if we get this facility, there's going to be a lot of services and support for small food, beverage manufacturers, for people who are exploring new product innovations, and people who are working with big data. And how do we use data and data analytics in order to make decisions and predictions? And so it's a very complicated topic, but I will just express that, and many of you are aware of it, and if funded, it'll be on the fast track as opposed to the slow track, and that would be great. So anyway, thank you.
So the deadline was moved from the 2nd to the 9th?
Thank God. That's all I can say, because it's just a much better proposal with those extra few days, so.
The one thing I'd like to add to the discussion, I very much support small business, but I think one of the things we're losing sight of is the fact that the county used to, through the planning division, planning and community development division, administer a multitude of programs that were geared towards small business. We had a successful countywide Main Street Redevelopment Center program. We had a historic preservation program that we called the Economic Development Assistance Program, that we ran countywide, restored numerous historic buildings throughout the county through that program. We led the effort to create the Upper Delaware Scenic Byway, and that was designated through planning initiative. Planning led the effort to create the Emerald Corporate Center, which helped us to attract Crystal Run Healthcare. We all did that in a supporting role. With the Corporate Center, the partnership led the effort on the recruitment. So there was a team effort, but I think of all the agencies, everyone plays an important role, but I think the agency that the county has lacked in investing is the planning division. Several years ago, before I joined the legislature, it was reorganized and community development was pulled out of planning. I really think as we look at the economic development that's before us, that we really need to ramp up the planning division. We need to reinstate community development as a core function of the planning division, because I think more than any other entity, there's a unique focus of the planning division in terms of research and securing grants. We did 2 rail trails during my tenure when I was planning commissioner. Those are all things that planning can play a supporting and coordinating role in conjunction with the partnership and the other entities. But to not put the resources there, I think, is a huge mistake, especially if we're finally going to be entering a period of growth.
Can I speak to one specifically, Al, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
There's one that's really a tool that we're missing. We've been missing for quite some time, and I haven't been here for the last 5 or so years, but getting back into the partnership. When I was at the partnership before, so the system went like this. The company would come in and they would say, we're interested in coming to a certain area. We want to know about the demographics, we want to know about the land, we want to know about the soils, we want to know about all these different elements that we need to know about in order for us to make a decision. And the way it was set up, and I think it's something that we should probably go back to, planning had a tremendous, an extraordinary GIS program. And I can't tell you how many times I walked through that door and said, can I get a map that tells me what soils are here, what the household income is in this particular area, and a whole bunch of other data sets that for me, so I'm the salesman, so to speak, of the county. I'm trying to sell our products. I need that supporting documentation, that supporting data, if you will, that provided that. And it's tough. We don't have that now. I think I would support investment back in that specific tool, which I think is going to be much more needed in the future with all the ancillary businesses that we anticipate as a result of the vote moving forward. So that's something that.
Could you work on that resolution to
Well,
move it forward?
I can, but I also think that, the advantage of having a GIS person in planning is that you have planners who are using the tools. So, you put GIS in my hands or in Jill's hands, and we're gonna look at a 70-acre site, and within a few minutes, we're gonna identify all the environmental constraints, what's the buildable areas on the site, what are the access issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Turn over to Mark, who's then now has a product in his hand that he can market. So, all the concerns about zoning and planning boards, I think, are really secondary issues. The ability to quickly analyze a site and look at its developability is the key thing, and that's a tool that we've lost.
So where did it go?
But it's a
That's
real.
a whole nother
There were-
discussion.
Yeah, why don't
Let's
let's go back to, it's a suggestion we'll look into. I don't think this is the proper forum really to continue the conversation. But we'll look into it and evaluate it, so.
How many conversations are we having, folks?
Okay.
4 or 5?
So let's go back on track. Let's go to the program updates now. Jill?
Okay, thank you. I put together my report, so if anybody has anything specific, but I just wanted to give a couple updates. I've been working with the steering committee still on the economic development plan and hashing out some of those initiatives and coming up with, tangible, work plans for each one of them. I met yesterday with the town supervisors to kind of give them a overview of the plan and seek their input and buy-in. Kind of laid out the process of how we're getting everybody on board and how we're all making sure that organizations are aligned to work together to keep moving forward. So I think it kind of builds on some of these things everybody's talking about, which is great that we are. There's a lot of excitement going on and some projects going on. Speaking on the community development and small business, we just completed the Main Street River Corridor projects and the micro enterprise assistance programs for the small businesses. So we've leveraged over $1 million in private investment in small business, as well as gave them grants to, expand their business, create businesses, improve their infrastructure. We've been working with Mark and Jennifer with small businesses. We just met with one potential expansion business, which is great. We'll hopefully have another revolving loan coming forward between the county and the partnership in a little bit. Let's be optimistic. And then also the Emerald Corporate Center. We're really trying to get a handle on that and get that together and get that built out. So we've been working with Mark on that. And we did work with the Green Tourism Working Group. We're working on them to kind of develop that program over here in the county. So it's just great. Everybody is working together and there's things moving and shaking. So I'm optimistic and happy.
Can I
One
ask
thing
a
I would
question?
add
Well,
is
Alan?
many of those grants that Jill just spoke of for the small businesses, those were the funds that, I want to thank my colleagues for agreeing to pursue the grant extensions so that we could finish those rather than give the money back. Because the easiest thing to do would then just return the money. But, everyone rolled up their sleeves and got it done. And so that, that's over $1 million in new investment in the county because of that. But, I think it's one of the things, too, with the planning division, it's kind of a unique focus of us planners, is there's that willingness, along with our colleagues, to do everything to help the small business owner. And you see that, with the IDA, you see that with planning and with Mark. A lot of these small projects actually take more work than the bigger projects, but we're willing to do that. But it's the cumulative impact of all those small businesses that I think is really going to have a tremendous impact on the county long term. So we got to definitely maintain that focus.
Absolutely. If we had more staff.
Cora?
Sorry, Cora.
Cora?
This is a formal request to actually have a calendar, probably too late for anything in December, but January, February, March, April, May, June, heading toward July and August is the key trigger dates, so that people are aware of the different consolidated funding funding opportunities, because if we are all working toward the same goal and we're all on the same page, nothing focuses the mind as much as a deadline. And I think without that kind of end game, we're gonna come back to where we were June and say, what are we submitting? And really, if we don't start now with those submissions for July and August, it's gonna be another round where we're like scrambling at the last minute. So is it possible for you to put together a calendar, what we need to do by the end of January, by February, by March? I sent one out in September,
Right,
which
and-
looked good, but no.
And I think we did have a meeting with grants administration as well to see, what role, because I even asked Art too if he had a calendar of just grants in general, because you have the CFA process, but there are other discretionary funds out there throughout the year that we should be, federal or other state that's not through the CFA, and so, should we kind of have an idea of when those are coming and what the cycle is for them? So I think it's good, so whether.
We would have just a giant grant calendar showing the deadlines for whether it's a CDBG or USDA or anything like that, and then that gives everybody at least these monthly focal points.
Right, and based off of the different plans and initiatives in there, you kind of have identified your priorities of what you want funding for, and that's what some of these pilot projects or projects that are moving forward to keep moving them forward, whether it's the trail or whether it's, continuing the dairy processing capacity and that sort of thing. I think it's great. I will work with grants if that's the direction to do it.
Art, really,
But I
that's
think
it,
I don't wanna speak for
yeah,
Art,
that's-
but again,
Well,
because
it's just
grants
that I've
and
been
planning are
asking-
kinda
It's
separate.
not the first time I've asked for it, and it won't be the last. And until I see one, I'm gonna keep on asking in every committee if that's what's required.
A quick thing.
Go ahead.
I believe there are several vacancies on Emerald Corporate Center Board. It's my understanding, unless they've been filled in the last.
There isn't, no.
There's no vacancies?
They might be coming up at the end of this year. I'd have to see the list.
All right, I guess I'll just phrase it as a question then. I'd like to know if there are any, I'd like to know if there are any vacancies on the Emerald Corporate Center Board, Sullivan County Funding Corp, or the IDA. And if so, if we can know how many
Who
vacancies
has
there are.
that information?
Those boards.
Well, first of all, I'll answer the two boards that there will be 2 vacancies coming up on the IDA.
Okay.
The funding corp, the IDA, they do not have terms, but the funding corp does.
Okay.
And one is coming up on that one too. With just normally. So there's going to be 2 in each. As I assume my peers know, the funding corp is appointed not by us, but by Josh. We don't appoint the funding corp. We appoint the IDA. So there will be 2. There are 2 coming up in the IDA also.
And one in funding?
2. One just because of term limits,
Okay,
and that was the union seat,
okay.
And two other ones.
and two other ones. Through, so,
And there is one vacancy on the Emerald Corporate Center.
I'd like to be on that board.
right.
That is up to the board, the Emerald
Josh.
Corporate Center Board appoints the
Okay.
Emerald Corporate Center.
I thought you were on it, you're not on it?
No, no, no.
You're there all the time, that's good though.
I'm just there as the
I'd like
I
to
thought
be
it used to be a formal
History.
appointment, I
Emerald
thought
Corporate
you were
Center.
on it.
Might as well be on.
Yeah.
I'd like to be a voting member.
No, the only legislators that are on it is the chairman of the board and the DPW committee chair.
So is there like
Moving right along. Okay, yes, let's move on. Laura?
Good morning. Just want to remind folks that the Partnership and Workforce Development have partnered on bringing Dr. Bill Daggett to the county on December 19th. Both Mark and I each had an opportunity at different venues to hear Dr. Daggett speak. And he is a leader in the educating our future workforce field. This is targeted to educators, business leaders, and workforce development. And the goal of this is to look at the good work that's already been going on, and by bringing all of the players together, looking for ways to enhance and expand what's already in existence. Just as a reminder for folks, the minimum wage as of December 30th goes up to $8 an hour from $7.25. The end of next year it'll go to $8.75, and then at the end of 2015 it'll go to $9. The chamber has asked us, and we're putting together right now, to do a presentation for their membership, especially as it impacts tip jobs and those things. And also another thing is the New York State has gone in, you can pass that, this is a national effort, and New York State has signed on to it for, on the unemployment insurance, a state information data exchange system. And what this will do is it will make things much easier for employers when it comes to an employee who files for unemployment insurance. This is a web-based system that will give an employer immediate access to the state folks. And the goal is to increase the prompt processing, the accuracy, the efficiency. There's two different aspects of it. One is for businesses that don't have a lot of claims, and another is for the larger businesses or third-party administrators. More information about this is found on the Department of Labor's website, which is labor.ny.gov. And this is a really good thing. It'll really speed up a lot of the snail mail processes that go on right now between employers and the unemployment insurance division. So that's it. Thanks.
Can I ask
Thank
a
you.
question?
Sure.
When I look at this, program employment data, I'm wondering if there's a breakdown, 237 people were employed for the first piece there. Is there a breakdown in this that is easier to get to, whether or not they're employed at minimum wage, if they were making more, if they're now making less, if they've moved up in their skill set, if they've improved their job and their wage? Is there a way to break that into this? Is it not worth our knowledge? It seems to me that it's important that we have workforce development, but I think what is going on in many places is people are working 2 or 3 jobs just to manage the salary that they used to have at one job. And I'm wondering if there's a way to figure that out in this document.
With that, I can tell you that, I mean, the 237 people, because we did review last month, so this covers 2 months. Those are unique individuals, okay? And so it's not, I'm not counting if one person got 3 jobs. It's not being counted as 3 individual jobs. It's 1 individual, okay? So there's like a unique number. There's not a repetition. In terms of being able to track what every person is making, we do not have access to those wage records on the state level. They did finally pass a law that is going into effect December 22nd that will give us limited access to wage data, that'll be 1, 2, and 3/4 out, but we have to pay every time we want that wage record. So unless we manually go in and our whole overall system has 3,000 people in it and manually track, how we know people are doing are the people that on a one-on-one basis either come back in, we reach out to them, if we hold events, if they come in, that's how we do it. There's not a way to pull that depth of data out of the system the way it's built.
It seems
You
to
are
me
right
that
that a
it
lot of
needs to be
people
an
are doing
important factor, you know, whether or not they go back to school, get more training, because, I mean, if you look
I
at the
mean,
news
we have
this
data in
morning, when it
terms
talks
of-
about the people at McDonald's, you know, I mean, there's a major issue going on in the country.
I mean, I can tell you how many
Worldwide,
people
you
we
know.
put through training, how many people, you know, that we track. But to get into the nitty-gritty of following people for a few years to see where they go or whatever, that's not electronically doable, and that's very time-intensive for a staff that I don't have.
I don't know,
But I can give you training data, I can give you, you know,
and if they improve their skill set and therefore got a better wage.
you know, so I can pull some of that info, but not necessarily as deep as you're thinking. Why don't I pull stuff that I can do, and I'll show it to you on what I can give you, and we'll see if that would help you there, okay?
So on the
Yeah.
business end, do you have information on the wage? You know, whether they're paying a living wage, because you have a list of businesses.
Employers, yeah, I mean,
Number 188 businesses, and then you have the examples listed.
Right.
So do you know which one of these businesses
If I pull
pays
into,
the
if I have to
living
go
wage?
into each person's individual file
Mhm.
to know what they're.
so there's
to know
no
what the wage is.
place at unemployment or any place that says, I'm offering such and such a job and the wage is $10 an
Well, yeah,
hour,
that would make sense.
$7 an hour,
Well, right, on the,
$15 an
on the
hour.
job bank, right, so if you go, if the jobs that we list on the job bank, an employer puts in the newspaper, whatever that is, and then someone goes and gets hired, and then, you know, it gets recorded that they made $10 an hour, or $12 an hour, whatever that is. But the aggregate of that, and that's the wage record information that the state tracks that we don't have access to. Otherwise, we have to do it manually.
One
That's
other
what I'm
No,
question
Kurt,
that I'm-
you can't give that information out anyhow, can you?
No, not for an individual business.
Yes.
No, I could give generalized information. No, I
Yeah.
cannot say that this, and what an employer advertises for and what they hire for and what they report to the state. That's,
Well,
which is why we don't have access to the wage records, because of the confidentiality.
I think we need to move on. I think, you know, if you have individual, you know, information, why don't you meet with Lori after, but, you know, when you get into analytics, we could be here for the next 4 days, and, you know, there's a million different questions here, so.
I'd
Certainly.
like to thank Cindy for all the
Yeah.
work she put into.
We're not done with our updates, but yeah.
Sorry.
Jennifer,
You know, I wasn't gonna make any update, but,
excuse me, one person at a time?
I think it might be an opportune time just to give a very quick little summary of, some of the work the IDA's been doing. I know usually you look in the newspaper and you see the big projects we've done this year. You see, Concord, you see Davos, you see, Kutchers. Back in July, Cindy had asked us to put together the small businesses that we had helped. And I had sent that to her, and I just happened to have that in my hand. So if I could just say, in the last 5 years, 8 of our tax abatement projects, and this is for, I considered small business under 50 employees. We've helped 8 with the tax abatement programs. Our revolving loan fund, we've done 5. Our agribusiness revolving loan, 1. Our rural micro-entrepreneur, the RMAP, we've done 7. And the Millennium, we've done 5. So these are projects that you don't see in the newspaper, but that we've been working diligently on, and currently working on more right now. So I certainly have any information anybody wants on any of those, I can give it to them. So just thought I'd throw that in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
Be really quick. You did mention a lot of things going on, and some was mentioned before. Davos, Varia, Kutchers, China City, the Apollo. We've met with owners, the business park owners. We met with them the last couple of weeks to try to get their zoning and everything in place to address ancillary businesses that we anticipate are gonna be coming in from the large, from hopefully one casino operation, but certainly efforts to go after two. We've had two subcommittee meetings at the partnership, one a casino task force. The effort is to do a comparative analysis of our sites relative to the sites across the state, in an effort to show how ours are better than those. We met with a whole host of different stakeholders at the direction of Scott, who did an impact group to look at security, to look at planning, to look at roadwork infrastructure, to look at a whole host of different impacts and things that we're going to be anticipating. I think we're ahead of the game in that aspect. And small business, we're constantly doing it. This year we've met with 162 different small businesses that came in varying different stages. Most of them are not ready to go. We're going to be doing a small business forum out in Callicoon area, just kind of lock in some of the people that are going to be there. We're going to speak to how to start a business, when to go to the county clerk, how do you do a business plan, what are the elements of the business plan, how does a loan get processed in a bank, what technologies are you going to be using to help you not only do the business plan, but to carry that business forward, and a whole host of different things. And that's an effort, and I talked to Cindy about that earlier this summer, that we're going to do out there. One of the things I just want to leave you with, and there's a ton of things I can talk to you about, we've been really busy with everything. From once the vote hit, we're nonstop. We're just going full speed, and we're meeting with a whole host of different businesses that want to come up here, even private people that want to come and do casino training, and a whole host of different things that are coming. But what Cindy talked about, and I think it's important for us to take this with us, and it's a chicken and the eggs discussion. What came first? Did Main Streets and small business come first, or did industry come first? And so when you look at this stuff, the partnership focuses on critical mass. And I know the attention is that, oh, we're always talking about the big businesses, and why are we bringing in these big businesses, and we're spending so much attention on those, and they're getting all the incentives, and they're getting all of this attention. First of all, the press will talk about the bigger businesses because they're more interesting to people, and the little mom and pop located in Lumberland or wherever may not be something that people are interested in the press context. But the reality is we're building critical mass. And critical mass is done, and we would do the incentives on these to compete with other areas because we want to get the scale of jobs that we want in the area. We want to get the scale of investment that we need. And hopefully by attracting all of the numbers of employees that are going to be working at these different locations. And I can tell you in the next 2 or 3 years, there's going to be quite a bit of demand for employees. And it's going to be another issue we're going to have to deal with employees leaving from one place to the other, and probably a shortage of the necessary employees we're going to need for these types of industries. Once they get hired, those employees are the ones that are going to demand the plumbers, the roofers, the people that, mom and pop stores, and those that provide that service. And arguably we can say, historically, that the reason our hamlets were put together in the old days and our businesses grew here were because of the scale of the tourism, hotels, and industry that was here in this area. And I can speak for my town only, because that's where I live and that's what I know. In the Village of Liberty, we had 3 large hotels within a 7-mile area. So when you look at the Stevensville, the Browns, and Grossingers, the employee level there approached about 11 or 12,000 people, and they disappeared very quickly. So when you lose that level of employee and you lose that level of demand for goods and services, it has a negative effect on our small businesses. So it's very difficult to kind of do that and get that and build that up again. I think that's going to come back, and I think, Ira, you're right, that the amount of business, the scale of the businesses that are coming in are going to affect that again for the same reasons, for the tourism reason, albeit in a different way, more outdoors and more into the bucolic settings that we have here, and not necessarily keeping people in one specific area, but certainly a more diverse economy, a whole host of different things happening on a different scale and different levels of the county, not necessarily all our eggs in the casino basket. There's a whole bunch of other things that are going on. The college is working very closely with the partnership on manufacturing, on creating a lab there to be able to have companies go over and use 3D printing and use other assets that the college will be building there to do their research and development, to design things at the college that they can take back to their specific manufacturing operations and put into practice. So a whole lot of things going on. And again, I'll leave you with that thought that scale is what we need in order to support the small business, to be able to provide those services for the workers that are going to be going there. So that's all I have.
Point of information, if anybody's interested, in the New York Post today, there's an article about the China City thing, about a half page.
I saw that.
Okay, Alan? Boy, you have a lot of
I-
questions today. You got up early.
I did. I got a good night's sleep.
You
know,
got 2
it's-
minutes. You got 2 minutes. We got another meeting.
What Mark just talked of, I think, is very important for a few reasons. Sullivan County is right now at a crossroads, and how we develop from this point forward is really going to determine the character of this community for years to come. Do we become more like Saratoga or like Vermont and actually have very attractive, well-designed development that fits into this nice bucolic setting that we all appreciate and love? Or do we become the Kissimmee, Florida, that looks like the strip retail, crappy center with signs and billboards all over the place? And honestly, I think right now it could go either way. There's a lot of new billboards popping up that I've seen in recent weeks. I know it's a home rule issue, but you know, I would not like to see 17 a strip of billboards all the way through Mammocating, advertising all the new casinos that are here. So I think, you know, that is a discussion we need to begin to have with the towns. What is our community going to look like? I'd like to see additional resources and focus on the design of new development. I remember when Home Depot came in, we had a big debate of what the facade should look like. We were close to getting the Durango, Colorado version, but that failed. But I think we need to really take a serious focus and have discussions with the planning boards on these matters, because there will be a tremendous effort and a lot of new economic development, but if it all looks like, you know, crappy Family Dollar stores, it's not going to be a very attractive place for
Well, you
people
make
to
a
come
good
back and
point.
visit.
So who
Not-
lead it?
Not only are we at a crossroads.
I'm only one vote. So.
Not only
No,
are
what
we at the
if you were planning
crossroads,
to build
we're in the
up?
crosshairs. Everybody
Exactly.
is watching us.
That's right.
And we have to make some smart, intelligent, well thought out and
Let's be Saratoga and Vermont.
what's the word I'm looking for? Researched,
That's
well
gonna be our
researched
beacon.
decisions.
Gotta bury the wires. That's the first thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially if the
So
hurricane.
we're saying to build up planning. This is the message that we're hearing, correct?
No, I think
Planning
we
would
gotta
be
be
the
careful
That's-
what Alan is saying, and it was the same discussion before. The decisions that he is talking about is home rule and each municipality. And I think, you know,
Although I think
what you
county
brought up,
planning can help a coordinating role there.
and you brought up a good point, but you have to be careful how you word things. You said with the casinos, like it was gonna be Las Vegas. Hopefully we'll get 2, hopefully we'll get 1. But you made it sound like it was gonna be like we're gonna have 20 casinos.
Well, that was
You have to
my
be
point.
careful how you word it.
That was my
Exactly.
point.
Exactly.
Not only we're at a crossroads, we're in the crosshairs. We're being watched very carefully by a lot of different places and entities. And the decisions we make can have a hell of an effect all over the place. So we have to make smart, educated, research decisions.
And there is precedent for design review in terms of county incentives. When we set up the Empire Zone, if you recall, I had put a provision in that required design review for any large-scale project that received Empire Zone benefits. And we were the first and only county in the state to ever require that. And there was design guidelines that were adopted. So our economic development agencies, as you're providing incentives, you can also, you know, ask for things in return, so that there's a public benefit.
We still have that?
Well, I think that's a discussion we can have.
Yeah.
I think we're at a tipping point from moving from desperation economics to being in a position of growth management, and we gotta switch hats very quickly, and be prepared for that.
All I'm just saying is the association to the casinos, we have to be careful. And it's clear, number one, first of all, it has to be a destination resort. It's gonna be going through the SECA process, it's gonna be controlled. We can't send the message that this is gonna be all over the place. What you're really discussing is the ancillary businesses that's gonna come in,
You wanna
and that's
protect our
another.
business.
So let's be careful that we're not spreading the, we're welcoming businesses, we wanna keep our rural environment, but
We can do
we can welcome and yet control, but let's send the right message, that we're business friendly.
We're absolutely.
So,
I'll say
with
that
that
on
being-
camera. We're business friendly.
I would tell you all this for some kind of comfort level. Of the 5 projected plans that have come in, and I've seen all of them, every one of them focuses real heavily on this whole design scheme, this blending with our environment. And part of the legislation, I've read the whole thing, and I know Scott's read the whole thing, and I know some of you others have read it. there is such an emphasis on that and on the impacts and how this is, that the people that are gonna get licenses, they're gonna have to implement that in their whole design scheme. And so I think the product, the end product that you're gonna get is something that I think everybody will be very happy with when it's
So
done.
the partnership
I think
is
the
leading
key-
on that?
So,
But the key is what develops on the way to getting to that beautiful resort. So you know, Orlando, you know, Disney World, you know, right around the resort, they've done a very good job. In Kissimmee, they kind of let things go.
Okay, let's move on. I think we all got the point. Roberta, and before she starts, I just want to remind everybody that your annual meeting is this evening. So,
I encourage, and many of you have already responded, it's a great opportunity to see all of the work that's been accomplished this year, as well as some of the preliminary plans and the full-end plans that we've got for 2014. Again, please join us this evening. We have some awards given to some of our local businesses as well, and it's a great opportunity to showcase our shining stars in our industry and take a look at some of the work that we've been doing. Right now, at the top of the list for us is putting together the travel guide. We are changing it up a little bit as things change and as new development happens. I mean, clearly now we have some new housing developments and resort facilities, as well as second home opportunities. So we are now even creating a different category within our travel guide to accommodate that, because they do rent and accommodate through the bed tax. So we're looking at how we can put that positioning in there so it best serves the visitor first and foremost, and also showcases some of the inventory that we have available. Examples of that would be Lost Lake, Sullivan, Regency. A lot of them have come forward and have had a great interest. So we're going to try to work that in there, always trying to change it up and be proactive with it. We do have a few pieces that are already off this year. As you know, the farm, we're just about complete with our cultural and arts mapping. That'll be off in 2014. We've been very successful in working with I Love New York and the governor's office in regards to getting some of the imagery that you're seeing at the MTA, at the airports in the city, some of the billboards and column circulars. A lot of that is indicative of our Catskill area. We've been trying to make sure that we get as much of an outdoor positioning and pictorial and image that we can out there, reinforcing our, not only the Mid-Hudson, but the Catskill. So we've been very successful in that. A lot of river stuff has been put on there, so we've been really pleased. They have accepted a lot of our photography and image that we put in there. I'm trying to do this really quickly because I don't want to hold you up any longer. Our stats have been going up. I've got some of them to put in our analyticals, but some things that are jumping out, our website, on our mobile web. We're finding a lot of usage, especially weekends, 300 pages per weekend we're finding that are going through, they're going connecting. Really kind of some neat data that we're finding on this. It's all within a 200-mile range when they come in here. They're already, the minute they arrive, are looking for dining, accommodations, looking for the events that are happening. Some of them are clicking back and forth off of the e-blasts. Lots of neat synergy there that we're finding our visitors are utilizing and coming forth with. I will submit this part to all of you. Working with a museum group under Patricia Adams, we've got some of those parts and pieces all put together. We've made some headway there going forward and trying to map it out and get at least the highlights of the major museums. So that's going forward. Like I said, the arts and cultural map is going to be out. We're working hand in hand with our beverage purveyors. So we will have a spirits trail that'll be coming out for 2014 as well. Already the data's coming forth. We're already getting that information.
you signed me up for that one.
He's on that one. He's going to do the first pub crawl for us. We too are working under Chairman's direction with the task force as far as how to look forward and look in visionary with the new gaming proposal out here. We've been teaming to try to best represent all of our existing businesses, our small businesses, and how are we going to be able to showcase them and make sure that each of those facilities are not encapsulated facilities, but we encourage them to go out and visit our river, visit our events, visit our happenings, our restaurants, and other. So those are some of the things. Again, I encourage you to join us this evening, 5:30, Villa Roma. Please be there. And any questions?
I would just like to make a suggestion, and I know not everybody agrees with me, but I like the posters that show the cat for the Catskills. I do think that we need to, it is a mark. And I think it's important to really, look at that kind of thing again when you're putting out the visitor's guide, because I think it's very helpful. Other people don't necessarily like the animal thing, but I think we are in the Catskills, and the cat is known in the Catskills all over. I mean, it's not limited to.
I mean, we have some video also that actually brought those mountains and the cats alive. I mean, I worked from a state level when that was happening. That's Milton Glacier's work. Some of that is still owned as part of the region too, so we are able to utilize some of that and work with the state on it and bring that back to life. And if there's interest in that, that's something we certainly would consider, because it makes it very easy to redevelop each one of them each year.
The guide that's coming out has already been designed, so that's not an issue.
Well, the interior of it is, believe it or not, we're still looking at cover shots. Can you believe it? I've got a lot of local artists that have submitted a lot of beautiful work.
You know, because to me, the other piece is once you have that, if we go small business and we go add farm, small business product, a brand would be helpful to really move it all forward. So I think it'd be nice to think about that when you're dealing with the cover of the newest one.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay, public comment?
This time I do.
I never pronounce you bad in life.
A few things. One theme that has come up often and came up here today has been something that the legislatures in the past have contributed to, and I feel we're going to be contributing more to, is the fact that every time we try to cut costs, is we keep cutting services. And when the planning department gets reorganized, and we lost some things that were there that were available for economic growth, and when you're looking at cutting $800,000, we're going to throw the baby out one more time with the bathwater instead of trying to be progressive and moving ahead as a whole county, because you can't expect everybody in the room to be moving the county ahead when you're not supporting their efforts with what you can support. On zoning, I find it's a failure of the buyer to check into the zoning, and I find it's a failure of the realtor to really give them a heads up and find out what's going on. I think it's more, they're interested in a sale and their commission, and they don't care. Or they said, don't worry, we'll get it through the planning board and zoning board of appeals because I know. Living in Sullivan County, you learn about the I know. Okay, number three. I read Doonesbury today. Today was a really good example of overqualified, taking a job no matter what. Okay, one lady couldn't do what she wanted to do, and she was hiring somebody to be a nanny who was in the same boat, had the PhD, so on and so forth. So it's okay. As far as the critical mass, and a part of that critical mass is we got to get the wages up in this county. We got to develop a better middle class in government jobs. We got upper middle class, because they're the ones who are going to buy the homes. They're the ones who are going to use the specialty, Main Street things and so forth. It's not going to be, the ones that are just struggling and have to have their income subsidized through social services. And billboards, Alan, billboards, to some people they are an eyesight. If you go back and look at some pictures that people have been posting on historical Sullivan County, they're all a mark of growth, because you saw all these hotels, bungalow colonies, all like on right there on 17, coming up, going towards Fallsburg. So it's a catch-22. It's an eyesight, or it's a sign of great things happening.
Thank you, Ken.
I believe that's what he means.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day as a business person to come here. So thank you, the two of you. We are listening.
Very good.
Yeah.
And yes, and I actually am blessed to say that I have a good amount of business today, and I'm looking forward to getting back to it. But it was important to be here And I just wanted to come as one of the small business owners in one of the quaint Main Street districts of Sullivan County. And I have an embroidery and t-shirt business in Livingston Manor. And I'm just going to say that when you put your life into your little tiny business, you become very sensitive to the way people shop. And now that we're getting a lot of catalogs and it's gift time, I can't help but notice that these catalogs are filled with items not made here, and the companies who are putting out the catalogs are not based here. And online shopping is big, and the more and more and more people do it, the more we lose. I would just love to see every effort made about things made locally here. I would like to see rules and legislation to whatever degree possible, requiring people to bid or to get bids from local manufacturers first. I know when I go into my bank, they're wearing nice uniforms made in Maine, I believe. I know when I go into PEX, they're selling Livingston Manor school merchandise made in Indiana. And I think of all of the wonderful PEX employees in my town. One of them has been my customer, and I see in the school that they're, you know, the uniforms and all that. So we have people here who sew, who knit, who work with wood, who do all sorts of things, and you also get catalogs filled with this stuff, not made here. I just love hearing any kind of encouragement about everything made here. I've seen all the shopping local programs, initiatives. If I'm correct, even our shop local logo was not done here, which kills me, but,
Yeah.
I'll tell you. And,
I agree with you.
right, and,
How'd you do on Small Business Saturday, just out of curiosity? Which was last Saturday, I believe.
yeah, my business has sort of evolved to not retail, so
No, that's
I'm
fine, I was
getting
just
the,
curious.
nothing, no special bump in it, but I'm busy right now, and I will be through December, I trust. Okay, well, thank you very much. Shop local.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
important.
Thank you.
We have to do it.
Can you just give your name for the record?
That's Van Morrow.
Yeah.
Van Morrow.
Yeah.
The Mountain Toad.
Yes.
I'm Deborah Conway. In the off-season, I'm the director, on-season, I'm the director of Fort Delaware Museum of Colonial History, which means that I work on the New York State Scenic Byway, Route 97, and we also have lived on it for the past 25 years. I grew up in Liberty, but have lived on the west side of the county, the alternative universe, for the last 40 years. And I only say that tongue-in-cheek, but I am very excited about what is going on over here, because now maybe that we finally have gambling, the 350,000 visitors that come to the Upper Delaware will finally get some recognition and be drawn into the rest of the county. I sit on the Upper Delaware Council. I go to the frequent meetings of the Upper Delaware Scenic Byway. Fort Delaware is the de facto visitor center for the Upper Delaware Scenic Byway, and it dismays me that none of these organizations, including Common Waters and many other spin-offs in the Upper Delaware Valley, are never represented here. Nobody here goes to those meetings. When the subject of zoning, for example, comes up, nobody in this room even mentioned the river management plan, the National Park Service. It's been a designation of the United States Congress since '61. There's been a river management plan in place for 25 years. There's land use guidelines, water use guidelines, and there's 6 towns whose zoning is reviewed by these people. They are an incredible resource in terms of tourism, heritage tourism, visitation figures. They are never asked to this table. They.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Because Alan did invite the National Park Service here in his meeting last month, and they spent the whole day, and so there was a lot of discussion.
Thank you. For the first time in 25 years. You
It
are
seems that
among.
things are getting better.
And they were actually in 2 meetings, just so you know.
Right.
It was a fluke that they were even here, because I know they came to meet with the planning folks. And yes, thank you for bringing up the Main Street revitalization programs, the historic preservation. All of these things are very important to the western side of the county, and it's fallen by the wayside. It's great that somebody is starting to voice that again, but please continue to, because I know they have gotten discouraged. I know that many of those groups are going out of the county to partner on rebranding and tourism kinds of things. I would hope that they would be encouraged to rejoin the fold.
Yeah.
And I even know people are saying, let's secede from New York State and Sullivan County. There is a lot of discouragement, and I haven't given up, so hopefully other people will reach out
I don't
to
think that
those
we've
groups.
given up either, and.
No, I'm
encourage
gonna,
it.
Well,
reaching out
you've
to the
invited
Park
me
Service for
into
next
the
week.
fold for the first
Oh, you
time,
did?
so it's welcome, but, you know, particularly when I hear, forgive me, Dan, but the story about the Upper Delaware Council wanting to hinder business with the new school. I mean, I was in that meeting. There was huge misunderstandings about the Upper Delaware Council, about the National Park Service, about them being non-business friendly. All that group is trying to do is be cooperative, and it would be great if someday there would be somebody to ask them for a Western Sullivan County 101 course. What's the scenic byway? Who are the National Park Service? What is this river management plan that is so misunderstood? I'm not the one to do it. Amongst us, we know who those people are. It would just be great if they came in and we started tapping into those 300 and some thousand people. And federal money that still is available, untapped, unacknowledged, underutilized. So thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I agree 100%, Deborah. I think you said it very well, and I think it's to our detriment that we don't really take advantage of the asset that it's a hidden asset, and we really need to, the same way we're pulling together in other areas, I think it's important to do the same. for the river.
On the Upper Delaware though, I do have to say that the whole group of the green energy and the green hospitality and the lodging, we've been working with them right along, so is Jill. I know we're one of the stakeholders in this with them. There's been a great working relationship on both sides of the river together on this. We've been working with the Eagle Institute on this. We've been working to market back and forth with one another, and it's been rather successful at this point. I mean, just, they seem to be doing quite well. I mean, I didn't get the impression that anybody was unhappy with all of us working and trying to promote the Delaware River.
It starts with the county. I think we have a commitment that we should make in terms of making sure that, for starters, that the New Delaware has the funding that it needs in order to have a successful season, and that's really kind of on us as a legislature to do that.
Kitty?
If I could just put in a plug that I found, that I learned about last night when I went to a meeting. One of the women who was involved in Jeffersonville said that because they have all of Jeffersonville is a hot spot zone now, when they had their most recent parade, within the first hour, they had more than 200 hits in the use of their Wi-Fi there. So I think all of the county will really grow and the businesses will grow as we expand that ability with the broadband and the hotspots.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Well, we're running
Well,
late. People are
thank you
waiting.
very much for your patience. I think it was a productive meeting now, so thank you.
You want to get rid of all of us, sure you do.